but a lot of people were squatted on the floor in the corner doing something. And I never participated in this. But what they were doing is they were playing Magic the Gathering, which also launched in 1993.
Bunch of nerds.
Okay,
Did you guys play this right when it started?
No, not right when it started. I jumped in a little bit later, but still very early in the fray. Were you there from the beginning?
No, it was about maybe like 3-4 years after, 96, 97.
So Magic the Gathering was exceptional. They had this Richard Garfield, this mathematician, had this neat idea. What if I created a very understandable, comprehensible, elegant, mathematically based game that instead of having a standard deck of cards that everybody plays out of, let's let each person customize their abilities. It's sort of like crafting your own weapon within the rules of the game. And then you and your friend would face off, and you tested both your skills at playing the game and your skills at preparation. It's almost like playing an RPG video game.
So this is the first time you built a deck?
Yeah, it was the most, it popularized that.
Okay.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And it just exploded. You were sitting there like, well, I could try this, and I could try this. And at the beginning, when it was kind of Wild West, nobody knew what to do.
Yeah.
But very quickly, magazines emerged around it, back when we still had those, and little communities and message boards, and people would start comparing ideas. And then the Duelist Convocation was formed that sort of regulated and said, okay, here's the minimum number of cards you can have. Here are cards that are banned or restricted, so you can only use certain amounts of them.
It was a Wild West. My favorite memory, I was just getting into it, and at the time, my sister's first boyfriend, who was 6 years older, he was like, oh, you're getting into Magic the Gathering? And I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, I used to play that when it first came out. I'm like, I don't play anymore. Here you go. Because it's this giant box full of Magic cards.
Isn't that like $3,000 worth of Magic cards?
Probably now, yes.
Maybe. I don't. They're like all like because they would always reprint new ones, and they would like fix errors. So like I have like an original fire breathing. It doesn't say until end of turn, but now that's standardized. So like there was all these really old like rare cards, just really crazy cards.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I would just dump them on the floor, bring my friends over, hey, let's all make decks, and then play them, and then just make new ones.
And that was the fun of it, because you had your community of friends, and the game was so adaptable. You could play it one-on-one easily. You could play it with 12 people
Did you
easily.
take other people's Magic cards?
Okay, originally you did. In the rules, you were supposed to ante up the top card of your deck, and you gambled for it.
I never did
And
that.
whoever won. But
Just like Pogs.
yeah, and at first that's how it worked, and then everybody figured out rarity, and price guides started getting
Yeah,
published. You're
people were like, I'm not giving
no
that up."
freaking way. So that didn't happen anymore. But it was adaptable, and you'd play with your group of friends. You'd all kind of learn together, and it was almost like a kind of an insidious religion. You just sort of bring people into the fold, and you just milk money off of them there.
I can attest to that.
I spent thousands of dollars on Magic.
My parents spent lots of
I had
money.
a summer job, and I had school year jobs, and I spent thousands of dollars on Magic cards in high school. I think most of the money that I would have spent buying a car otherwise. I loved that game. It is, okay, all hyperbole aside, it is every bit as complex and beautiful a game as chess mathematically. It really is at its core built on an almost infinite series of possibilities, but it's comprehensible with a few core rules, and that's why it endures today.
Going aside the mechanics for a second, what I actually really enjoyed were the cards themselves. They had beautiful artwork on them by different artists, like a different spanning kind of like art styles, and they all had like little fluff text at the bottom.
Yeah, flavor
and
text.
that was half of the fun of getting the new cards. It's just you go through and you read, and there'd be little stories in these, like even though like a sentence long, and by the time they had iterations of Tempest series, and there were actual storylines going on through these cards. You could see in one card, like a white card, it would show a guy falling from a ship. The second card, a green card, would have him like landing in like a broken fall card.
Yeah.
It's like Snorlax waking up over the generations.
Yeah,
of
and you'd
Pokemon.
see it, and some of them would just have this wonderful random flavor text from classical literature, like Coleridge, like they groaned, they stirred, they all uprose, none spake nor moved their eyes. It had been strange even in a dream to see those dead men rise. And they would just stick this on the card. It was great.